All right, so are you ready to like dive deep into this whole world, this like addictive world?
Let's do it.
Taiwanese boys love drama. We're talking all things history, the series that's like the ultimate sampler platter of
Absolutely.
everything a BL fan could want, right?
Yeah, and what we're going to do today is we're going to look at each season kind of as like a snapshot
I love that.
of what was happening in BL at the time and how history itself grew
Yes.
with its audience.
So smart, because for the listener out there who maybe this is their first foray, history anthology format, right?
Right.
Every season is a new door, new couples,
Exactly.
new stories, which is amazing. You can jump in anywhere, but it can also feel
It's a lot.
like, where do I even?
It's part of the beauty of it, but it can be overwhelming.
It's a lot to navigate. So that's where we come in, right?
That's what we're here for.
Like we are your history guides.
Consider us connoisseurs, if you will, of the history universe.
I love it. Okay, so season 1, they really came out strong. 3 very, very distinct flavors.
Yes.
You've got My Hero, Stay Away From Me, and Obsessed, which like right there, you're hitting all these different...
Oh yeah, you're hitting all the tropes. My Hero right out the gate, and it was a shorter story, I think, than the other two.
Okay.
But the charm and the supernatural element. I mean, you're talking ghost possession
Wow.
with this really adorable romance, and it really works.
I mean, talk about a fish out of water trope, but like with a paranormal twist.
Yes.
Like, how do you even begin to navigate that?
Exactly.
I think what worked for me was it was so emotionally grounded, even though you've got a character literally
Right.
like inhabiting someone else's body.
And you know what I thought was really effective that they used in that one was they did a lot of like close-ups
Interesting.
on the actors' faces, and it really drew you into that connection that they had, even though the circumstances were unusual. You really believed it.
That makes sense. Yeah.
And then, of course, you go to Stay Away From Me, which is enemies to lovers, and it's the stepbrother trope. So, like, come on.
I mean, you're just piling on the tropes, and I'm here for it, honestly.
Yeah.
For anyone who needs a quick like definition, enemies to lovers, that delicious push and pull
Right.
where they hate each other but also maybe love each other, or will they, won't they?
Exactly.
Like all of that.
And that one does a really good job of like building that up, that tension. So you're kind of like, ugh, just kiss already. But at the same time, you're like, no, I want it to last.
Yes.
I want to savor it.
You want that anticipation to build.
Exactly. And then on the totally other side of the spectrum, for those who want to feel all the feelings and be put through the emotional ringer,
Yes, please.
you've got Obsessed.
Which delivers.
Oh, it does. It does. You're talking time travel, intense yearning, love that crosses lifetimes.
Melodrama to the max, but I kind of love it.
And it totally embraces that. But what grounds it are the performances.
Yeah.
I think the director did a really good job of letting these actors act, and really go there. And again, those close-ups, they really weren't afraid to like sit in those moments.
I love that. I love when a director trusts the actors to do the work.
Yeah.
Okay, so season 2, it feels like we shift gears a little bit. We move out of that high school setting. We're exploring more mature themes.
Yeah, a little more adult.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I think is really smart because you're broadening the appeal, right? You're not just targeting.
Exactly. It's broadening. It's reflecting how history was growing with its audience.
Yes.
And realizing we can tell different kinds of stories. So you have Right or Wrong, which is, it's an age gap relationship. It deals with the trials and tribulations of single parenthood.
It's interesting because that one is not as I don't know, it's not as like, I guess, splashy.
Right.
But there's like a quiet intensity to it. It feels very like real.
And you know what they did? And I read an interview with the director. They did a lot more handheld work with the camera.
Interesting.
In that season, which lends itself to that realism. You're kind of like a fly on the wall of their lives.
You feel like you're there.
Yes, exactly.
Like in the room with them. And then, of course, we have to talk about it. Crossing the Line, arguably one of the most popular
for sure.
history installations.
Yeah.
This is our sports romance, high school volleyball. All the tropes are here. We've got the rebellious student, dedicated coach, the rivalry that spills off the court.
That slow burn.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
that slow burn. It's like they knew exactly how long to draw it out.
The tension builds and builds and builds.
And that final, that climactic confession scene, like through the rain-streaked window.
So good. The rain. Oh my God. It's like they knew what they were doing.
It's so cinematic. Like it's such a smart, it's chef's kiss. It's so good.
And it's no surprise that one got a sequel movie, by the way.
I'm not surprised at all. And it perfectly encapsulates that, like, the sports drama, but then that, like, heartwarming found family, and then that first love.
Yes.
Just all of it. Now, season 3, this is where I feel like history is like, all right, we're comfortable. Now we can play.
Now we're going to experiment.
Yeah, now we're really going to experiment with genre.
Yes. Because I think they knew they had the audience at that point.
They knew what that, yep. And so you see that most evident in Trapped. Oh, Trapped. We are now in a full-on crime thriller.
We are, with a righteous police officer, a very hot crime boss, and the intrigue.
Oh, the tension is so good. And I love that they took that risk because you think you're getting one thing.
Yeah.
And then they weave in this romance so beautifully.
Yes.
And it all just works.
It does. And it makes sense, right? Because you've got these high stakes.
Yeah.
So it just makes the stakes of the romance that much higher.
Yeah. And it's like you can't help but get swept up in it. Okay, but we also need to talk about the action sequences.
Oh.
Like, clearly they put a lot of, like, budget and thought.
Choreography.
The choreography is so good. Like, you're on the edge of your seat.
It's very stylish, you can tell.
Very stylish. Now, on the flip side, you've got Make Our Days Count, which, okay, we're back in a high school setting, but thematically,
This one
will wreck you.
Thematically, I think it's the most mature.
It starts off, and it's deceiving, right?
Yeah.
Because it's light, it's fun, and then
It lulls you into this false sense of security.
It does. And then it's just like gut punch after gut punch.
It is.
You're dealing with grief, loss, first love,
Complicated family dynamics.
family drama.
All of it.
And it's so well done, the way they use, I notice, even like lighting and shadow
Yes.
to kind of reflect the tone of what the characters are going through.
It's beautifully shot.
It's so good. It is a tearjerker, I will say that. Have tissues ready.
Be prepared.
But it's so beautiful and ultimately, like, hopeful.
It is.
And I think it shows, like, the emotional range.
The maturity.
Yes. That BL dramas can have.
Yeah, it's not all just fluff and lightheartedness, you know? It can go there.
It can go there. Now, season 4, this is where I feel like they're like, all right, let's see, can we juggle?
Yeah, can we balance a couple things here?
Not supposed to, two very different couples. Right?
Very different dynamics, yeah. So
Yeah.
you've got the classic office romance.
Which, you know, I'm always here for an office romance.
But who isn't? Stolen glances by the water cooler, the power dynamics.
The forbidden love, all of it.
And what I thought they did really cleverly with that one is they play with this idea of public versus private. So they do a lot of like work with mirrors and reflections.
Oh, interesting.
So you're kind of seeing like the person they're presenting to the world versus who they are when they're alone.
Oh, I like that. That good visual cue that also adds that other layer.
Exactly. And then on the other side of that, you have a story that's dealing with stepbrothers.
Ooh. A little spicier, a little more
A
controversial,
little more controversial.
both within the narrative of the show and also, I think, amongst fans.
Oh, yeah. That one definitely sparked some conversation.
And I think it shows, again, like, history is not afraid to, like, poke the bear a little bit.
No, they're not afraid to get a little messy and address some of the more challenging themes and maybe even divisive themes, you know?
And I respect that.
It's a sign of a show that's not afraid to grow.
I like it. They're not afraid to maybe make people a little uncomfortable in the name of good storytelling.
And it reflects the conversations that are happening, you know, both within the BL world and in society at large.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And I think it's a conversation that needs to be had.
absolutely.
It's like they know people are going to watch it multiple times, and they're rewarding you for paying attention.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's more than just, you know, surface level entertainment. It really makes you think. And then we get to History 5, which again, like its predecessors, gives us two new couples, two new sets of dynamics to explore.
I love that they keep it fresh, you know? You're not stuck with the same couples season after season.
Exactly. And this time we go back to the workplace setting, but with a twist.
Ooh, I like a good twist.
Yeah.
Keeps things interesting.
Right. So one of the storylines follows an office worker and a delivery guy, which is kind of a fun change of pace.
It's like slice of life romance amidst the backdrop of a busy city, right?
Exactly. Those chance encounters, those little moments that build up over time. It's very sweet.
And you get that will they, won't they vibe as their paths keep crossing. Plus, I loved how the director used those transitions.
Oh, yeah. The transitions were really clever.
Like you'd zoom out from this bustling city street, and then suddenly you're in the intimacy of their shared apartment building.
Yeah. It was a great way to show the contrast between their public lives and those private, more intimate moments they share.
It was subtle, but so effective. And the other storyline, we're diving into the world of entertainment. Idol and his manager, here we come.
A classic pairing. But, you know, history doesn't just do the surface level. They use this storyline to dig into the pressures of fame.
Oh, for sure. You see that tension between public image and what they actually want, what they desire.
It adds a whole other layer of complexity to the romance because it's not just about two people falling in love. It's about them navigating this really intense, demanding world.
And finding each other amidst all of that chaos. It's kind of beautiful when you think about it. Okay, so we've gone from supernatural romances to crime thrillers.
Don't forget the sports drama.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
And the emotional roller coaster of some of those high school romances. History really runs the gamut.
It does. It really does. So what do you think it is about this series that makes it stand out? Because there are other BL dramas out there, but History has this special something.
I think it's that they're not afraid to take risks, but they also understand the heart of what makes BL so appealing.
They strike that balance, that perfect blend of pushing boundaries while still delivering those emotionally resonant stories that connect with viewers on a deep level.
And they do it with such sincerity. It never feels exploitative. It always feels very genuine, which I think is important.
Absolutely. And the characters, even the supporting characters, are so well developed.
Right. It's not just about the main couple. You get invested in the entire world they create.
And that's what makes it feel so real, so relatable. These characters have their own dreams, their own struggles. They feel like people you could actually meet.
You're not just watching a romance unfold. You're watching these characters evolve as individuals. And I think that's something we can all connect with, no matter who we are or who we love.
And, you know, you can't talk about History without talking about its impact on Taiwanese BL as a whole. I mean, this series put it on the map, launched careers.
It's a cultural phenomenon.
And it sparked these important conversations about LGBTQ plus representation, which, you know, for a genre that's often been relegated to the sidelines, that's huge.
It really is. And it's helped to bring BL dramas into the mainstream, showing the world that these stories deserve to be told, that they have this incredible power to move and inspire audiences.
And what I find so fascinating is how History itself evolved alongside those changing attitudes. Like if you look at season 1 versus season 5, there's a noticeable shift.
Oh, absolutely. The storytelling became more nuanced, the characters more diverse.
Right. Earlier seasons, you see those BL tropes, which, don't get me wrong, we love a good trope, but there's a bit less explicit intimacy.
Which makes sense because society as a whole was maybe not as open then, so it's a reflection of the times.
Exactly. And as society became more accepting, History mirrored that in its storytelling.
And that's what's so cool about revisiting the series. You can literally track those changes, that growing confidence in portraying queer love.
It speaks to the power of representation and seeing yourself reflected on screen.
Because when you see yourself in the stories you consume, it validates your experiences. It tells you that you're not alone.
And it gives you hope. Hope for a future where those stories are no longer seen as niche or radical, but as simply a part of the human experience.
Beautifully said.